All right, so Kevin, we just got a tour of the factory, and one of the things that's just extremely fascinating to me is the quality control of your brushes and stuff, and people using fingernail clippers to clip off filaments is just absolutely incredible. And can you just talk about that process and why you guys do that a little bit?
Well, I think when I started in this business, which is over 20 years ago already, which is a little scary, my grandfather was still working part-time and still alive. And between him and my father and their relentless focus on quality, I think that's just translated to me and to my sister Sari. When you make a strategic decision and vision to go as deep as we did into super high quality paintbrushes, right? There's a tremendous amount of financial resources that go behind that. So when you're going to focus on that sort of commitment long term for your family, for your business, you can't worry about the pennies. You have to look at things and really focus on the quality. The most people in manufacturing would look at that and be like, you're crazy. But for me, that's just how we operate our business on rollers and brushes. We are very focused on quality.
One of the reasons why I chose to have you guys, make our brush, the Brook brush, was because of the quality. I feel like it's the best brush out there, but also you are a family owned and operated company. And I believe I heard from you that it started with your father. And can you just speak a little bit about that, your company and the history of it?
Sure. So Sari and I today are a third generation, but the business was actually started by my grandfather in the 1960s. But he was already in his 40s. I think technically it was incorporated in 1968, but he was in the business in the early 60s. Soon after 1968, my father joined him. So really they built the business. It was my grandfather's vision, but that blended with my father's work ethic, right? The two of them built this business throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s until Sari and I joined in the late 90s, and the rest is history from there.
So your grandfather, he started out making rollers. Is that true?
He was manufacturing 100% genuine lambskin roller covers with my grandmother in the basement of their house in Flushing, Queens.
So from making rollers, lambskin rollers in the basement, to this gigantic facility now, that's just an incredible journey. And I think it's important for me too, to choose a company, high quality, family owned and operated, but with a long history. That's just, it's incredible. Your grandfather, he started making rollers in his basement. Was he a painter by trade?
He was not a painter. My grandfather, immigrated to this country in 1947. My grandmother, they're of European descent. He did everything from own a few candy stores on Coney Island to driving a New York City taxi cab, which he thought was going to be for a year, ended up being for about 12 or 13 years. And then someone he knew was going into this business, and they talked about it, and that's who we actually started with in the 60s. That partnership, they had a different vision. I think my grandfather's vision was larger than his. And so after a few years, they friendly parted ways, and then my father joined. So he was not a painter. The real question that my grandfather had when he was presented this idea and they started talking about it is, do you throw the roller out after you use it? And the answer was yes. And he's like, I'm in. He knew there was repeat business there and longevity, in terms of the products. He got through World War II being a good engineer. So he was able to apply all that he learned, I think, those years in the war and post-war to the engineering side of our business.
We're right in the heart of New York, I think. I mean, I flew into JFK and we drove through a bunch of side streets to get here, and it seems like we're just right down in the heart of it all here.
You're in, so the 5 boroughs make up New York City. Most people refer to Manhattan as New York City, but it's really the 5 boroughs. And we're in Queens, which is, if it's not the most diverse borough of all 5, it is one of the most diverse places in the country. So we are very fortunate to have a very diverse workforce, hardworking people such as ourselves, very dedicated to our business.
How many employees do you have working here, manufacturing all these brushes and rollers?
Globally, we have over 100 people. We never look at numbers. We tend to focus on the quality of the employees. And when we get busy, we tend to have people work a lot more overtime. But as our business grows in the United States on the premium side, we will continue to add to that headcount. But we don't just hire anyone. We take a lot of care, a lot of training, and we will work with people and have them come in 6 days a week and work overtime to ensure the stability of and consistency of the quality of our products.
It does seem like they all really take pride in what they're doing.
Absolutely. And when I'm not traveling, I spend time on the factory floor, right? I grew up in this business in high school, and I think when I first started, here in my mid-20s, I unloaded trucks myself on a hot and humid day. So I really learned the business from the ground up. And it's important for me to get out and be on the floor, to say hello to the people, to know their names, to see if there's any ongoing improvements that our business can make. And so I like to touch and feel. And I take a tremendous amount of pride in our roller manufacturing as well as these paintbrushes. So it just gives me great joy just to walk around the floor and see the success. What you have here is over 200,000 square feet of a quintessential New York City building. This building in particular, as you can see, is painted over. It's at Seal Test Milk. This was built just after the Great Depression, and it became a Seal Test milk factory. And the adjacent part, which is hard to see here, was even earlier. I think it's from the early 1900s. So it is completely inefficient as a manufacturing facility. I mean, we could take half the amount of space, be in Boise with 40-foot ceilings, and come. All our products start at one end and come out the other. But when I started here, my father's advice was, "This is our building, we own it, and we make do." So we've taken this old milk factory and we've made it as efficient as possible for our business.
Yeah, it's what we call old school.
Old school.
Old school.
And again, we're less, as a company and as a family, we're less focused on the optics of the material things in life and our building, because when you go inside, like we have, you see the focus on the quality. And that's the only thing that we really care about at the end of the day.
It doesn't matter what happens on the outside, it matters what happens on the inside.
Absolutely. I walk around the building, as I mentioned, and I have visions of spending time here with my grandfather, even when I started working as a kid. So there's a very deep meaning here, deep personal history. So, and that support of customers in the United States is so important, because we want to continue to grow this business. We want to continue to maintain a legacy for the next generation, and that support here is so important.
So you're definitely not going to be moving from here anytime soon?
Not the manufacturing. We have a distribution point in Phoenix, which is the western part of the United States, and any manufacturing that's done vertically integrated will continue to come out of our Mexico facility. But all the premium products and U.S. made products and stuff that you love and the painters love, that stays right here in New York.
Right.
As we were moving from our facility in Brooklyn, my father and grandfather, there was a lot of work that was done on nights and on the weekends, and I used to tag along with my father. And interestingly enough, one day we were in the building and they were knocking down some walls, and I kind of stayed behind, and I picked up, I don't know, maybe I was 4 years old, a sledgehammer, and I kind of just threw it against the wall, and this whole wall came crumbling down next to me. It was maybe 14 feet high, wasn't very wide, and everyone ran from around the corner and was like, couldn't believe it. Like I just was a little kid, and I hit the wall once. And those are the stories that my dad still tells, and he like scared, you could imagine, living hell out of them. And then as a little kid, I used to take those long roller sticks with a buddy of mine, and it was like when Star Wars was out, and we used to like pretend that they were swords. And I mean,